Hello, and how are you? I hope you are having a fantastic day. I'm here to give you the cryptocurrency news. State-owned French bank invests in Bitcoin startup. Now, when I heard that, I was flabbergasted because it wasn't that long ago that the French came out and said how they're going to block Facebook's Libra cryptocurrency. And so after I read that, I had the opinion that the French, especially the French government, was strongly opposed to cryptocurrency. But then this week we get an article talking about how France and the French government, because this is a state-owned bank, are investing in a Bitcoin startup. So wow, let's get into this. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is my opinion. I am not smarter than you. You are smarter than you realize. Do not trust what I say. Do your own research. So, state-owned bank joins Bitcoin startup's $8 million Series A fund investment opportunity. So, it comes out, we're convinced, says, and this is a quote from the state of this person who represents the state bank. We're convinced that Bitcoin is becoming more and more obvious. That's not typically what one might expect to hear from a veteran banker at a public institution. But I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, Veronique Jacques of the partially state-owned French bank investment bank BPI France, told CoinDesk Bitcoin has become a staple of the global community. That's why BPI France just made its first investment in a crypto startup, because the bank wants to play an active role in building Bitcoin's infrastructure. The Lightning-focused startup Async raised $8 million in a Series A-led investment partners with the participation of Serena and BPI France. I'd Invest Partners Managing Director Nicolas Debach told CoinDesk this round was also his firm's first investment in a Bitcoin company. As we continue to look at Bitcoin companies, we think the second layer opportunities are a big one, and it's definitely something we'll be looking into more, Debach said, adding, if you're building for the digital economy, you need to build a strong and safe infrastructure. What I really like about Async is that they're not rushing to launch a product that isn't ready. So they're building on the Lightning Network. And for those of you who don't know anything about Lightning, so you have Bitcoin and it's built upon a blockchain, and the Lightning Network is a external layer to Bitcoin. So what'll happen is the Lightning Network, currently today with Bitcoin, a transaction can take 10 minutes or an hour or several hours. There was more than one time when I was making a Bitcoin purchase and I was transferring that Bitcoin from an exchange into my wallet, and it took it several hours before it actually reached my wallet. So I could see that the transfer had begun, and then it was several hours later that the transfer was completed. Now, for normal transactions, that's just way too long. That's just not going to work for most people under most situations, especially if you're trying to buy a cup of coffee. By then, the coffee will be cold. So what's happening is people are building what's called a Lightning Network, which is a layer above the Bitcoin network. And so the transaction would first go to the Lightning Network. The Lightning Network makes a few checks and balances to make sure that it's a valid transaction, and then it'll process the transaction in seconds. It can handle thousands or millions of transactions per second, and then it will pass the transaction onto the Bitcoin blockchain so that it can take its time to finalize the transaction. But that way somebody could buy their cup of coffee, the transaction took mere seconds, and be on about their day without having to wait for it. And so I find it interesting that a state-owned French bank is investing in a second layer upon the Bitcoin network. That's very interesting to me. That shows to me that the French, for whatever reason, have a strong interest and a positive outlook of Bitcoin, even though they were extremely negative about the Libra coin. So hopefully we'll learn more about where the French are coming from in the future. But in the meantime, how can I be of service to you? Do you have any questions? Do you disagree with anything that I've said? Politely post your disagreements down below in the comment section, or please comment about anything that you have an interest in. In the meantime, like, subscribe, and hodl. I hope you have a fantastic day.